time, partner.
And a lot of people are going to have trouble with this net neutrality issue, especially if you're stuck in the left versus right paradigm. Also, for those who think the government can do no wrong. Yeah, it's a lot of lies, a lot of propaganda going on, a lot of trickeration. But this video right here is going to clear it up. You hear the term thrown around a lot. Open and free internet is what we want with net neutrality. Is that so? Keep watching.
Indeed, I remain firmly committed to net neutrality so we can keep the internet as it should be, open and free.
We could be witnessing the end of the internet as we know it. It sounds kind of dramatic, but it's on point. That's how some analysts are describing a major ruling which could change how much we have to pay to get online and what sites we can all visit. A federal court ruled that internet providers are free to block or slow down access to virtually any website. Think of it kind of like cable TV. Last summer, Time Warner blacked out CBS for several weeks here in New York City because of a dispute over fees. Analysts say that same thing could now happen between Time Warner, Verizon, or Comcast, or even, say, Google. Another scenario, you might have to pay more for specific websites, the same way you'd have to pay more for certain TV channels in bundles. For instance, you go to Google, you search, in this case, Fox, because we can safely do that without getting in any trouble. You click through to foxnews.com. Now, you might have to pay more to get our videos quickly. You know, you might have to pay for more. There are a million different ways that you might have to pay, because the ruling was net neutrality said the internet is equal. No matter what's there, it's all treated the same. No matter what you want, you can get it. They say that this would make for better online service. But opponents say it will eventually limit our access to the internet and could cost all of us a lot more money. Joining us now is tech guru Larry Fishelson. He's the CEO of the telecommunications company Dynalink. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We pre-interview all of our guests, our bookers do, so that we have an idea of what their position is. And I looked at this and I saw that you say this is good for the companies and the consumers.
Absolutely. This was a terrible piece of legislation, and it was a wonderful court ruling yesterday. The best thing going out there right now is the internet. The internet right now is free and open. So to call net neutrality neutral and call it open is the opposite. It's not neutral and it's not open.
You sound like a corporate shill.
Well, you know what it is? The internet.
Well, you do.
Okay, I might sound like corporate chill, but the whole idea with the internet is you could use anything on the internet. So what the government's trying to do is to get into tax it and regulate it. Now, it's a business, and it's a for-profit business in the private world. So the carrier's got to go ahead and build out networks and broadband so everybody gets that service.
So now people with money will have more access than people without money.
No,
and the whole idea behind the internet in the first place was that everybody has equal access. It's not just for rich people. Everybody has access.
But that's not
and this shoots a hole in that.
But that doesn't shoot a hole in it, because what happens is there are some businesses that are taking up, let's say, 20, 30% of the bandwidth. So to go ahead and not charge them more and give everyone else the same price isn't right. It's a business. Just like the cable business is a business, you have to get people that go ahead and advertise on the business for it to go on. Now, what's going to really happen here is I don't think anything's going to happen, because before net neutrality, the internet's been thriving. So I don't think there's going to be any changes. I don't think there's going to be any extra charges. I think that's just a scare tactic.
Well, the whole internet disagrees with you, and every single fact that you read about what net neutrality is, how the internet was born, what it's meant to do, flies in the face of everything you're saying. So I don't understand how you make that. Who pays you?
Well, what this says is they got to stop. I have my own business, so nobody's paying.
Right,
There's no conflict of interest. I've been in the telecom business over 20
right
years.
On.
Why it's great for the consumer is you have all these other businesses, Google, Facebook, Amazon, that spawned from the internet. So if the internet stays open, you're going to have more e-commerce come out. You're going to have more entrepreneurs. You're going to have more creation of wealth around the whole country.
Yeah, but the ones that are monopolizing the internet now can start charging individuals more. For instance, the Googles and the Amazons of the world can now charge for services that right this moment are free. And people who have money will then have access to that, and people who don't will not. Right?
Well, I mean,
isn't that true though?
Well,
is that a yes or a no?
It's a yes, but in the whole world, it's a profit business. So if you can't afford, not everything's necessity. If you can't afford to get a certain product and you don't make the money to get that product, then you can't get that product.
But
this
right
is a
now
free
you
market.
can.
But this is
right
a
now
free
you
market
can, because the
society that
internet
works. It's the
is
free
net
market.
neutral. It's working right now just fine, isn't it?
It is working right now. So what the government's trying to do here is nationalize it, come in so they could tax it and regulate it and control it. And this is the whole redistribution of wealth and getting control. It's a free market thing. We're a capitalist society. Not everyone
gets...
The
whole world is not a capitalist society. And I would recommend to our viewers that our viewers read about this, because it is about to change. Everything is about to change depending on what the courts rule next. Net neutrality is very near its end. If you care about the internet, Google it while it's still free.
Net neutrality is gone. No more net neutrality, as you've heard. Well, that's what they're saying. Take a gander at this article. Net neutrality is dead. Bow to Comcast and Verizon, your overlords. And you see, I put fear right there because that's what they're doing. They're trying to get your fear. Striking down the FCC's rules, protecting the open net was worse than the most dire forecast. Yeah, this is what they want you to see. People getting outraged right now as I speak. Some of y'all got outraged because you saw that last video with Shepard Smith selling the fear. See, now that net neutrality is supposedly gone, we get this right here. Yeah, this is more fear sent to you. A user made this. Somebody, I don't even know who made this thing, but this is supposed to be an example of what life without net neutrality is. But look, we haven't always had net neutrality. What was life like before net neutrality? I remember the internet being okay. Yeah, see, a lot of people don't understand what they're saying when they say, I support net neutrality. Take a look at this. More fear. Verdict. Net neutrality is dead. Fear. I put that right there. I put the fear part. But look at what they're doing. You get these little Coney 2012 reactions. Tell the FCC, restore net neutrality. Tell the FCC. See, this is where the sick part comes in. It's a trick to get you to support the FCC, to make you want to give the FCC more power. Understand, FCC means government control. You want to hand over control to the FCC when they have no business regulating the internet in the first place. Because when you really look into it, you don't really want government intervention in the internet. You want to keep it the way it was before net neutrality. Net neutrality gives the government control to make regulations and make rules. Go ahead. Ask me if I want government intervention in the internet. No. Nope. Heck no. Let me show y'all what actually happened. The FCC may have lost its battle in federal court last week to enforce its net neutrality rules, but the ruling actually gave the agency what some are calling unlimited authority to regulate almost every aspect of the internet. The decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals from the District of Columbia was initially deemed a blow to the principles of an open internet and to attempts by the Federal Communications Commission to enforce them. But the simple truth is that last week's decision marked a big victory for the FCC. The reason? While the court deemed that the FCC's open internet rules were based on faulty logic, it gave the agency a blueprint to revise its argument so that the rules would stick. More importantly, the court sided with the FCC over the argument of whether the agency even has the authority from Congress to regulate the internet. On that question, the FCC won, and it won big. Ultimately, the commission ended up with even more influence over how the internet operates in the future. All this power concentrated in the hands of the FCC, aka the government, is dangerous, critics say. Simply look at the National Security Agency for a cautionary tale. That's the NSA. The FCC has far more power than it did before this decision, said Harold Field, senior vice president with public knowledge, a nonprofit that says it's devoted to preserving the openness of the internet. Before, it was always unclear what the FCC's limitations were. You see how the FCC loves this whole decision? In other words, before this decision was handed down from the court, there was some haziness about the true role of the FCC in regulating the internet. But since the court's decision, it's crystal clear. The FCC and even local public utility commissions can now impose regulations on the internet, overriding any local or state laws that may forbid such regulation. With the appropriate legal arguments, the FCC not only has the authority to tell broadband providers they can't block or discriminate against traffic on their networks, that is, to enforce net neutrality, but it also has the authority to regulate broadband rates, as well as regulate pricing for all services connected to the internet, from streaming video services like Netflix to internet-based home surveillance services. It might even give the FCC authority to insert itself into copyright disputes. So you see, that was a power grab. But what do you get? You still get people coming out talking about, we need to tell the FCC to restore net neutrality, making a whole boogeyman situation. Right now, there is no one protecting internet users from ISPs that block or discriminate against websites, applications, or services. Companies like Verizon will now be able to block or slow down any website, application, or service they like. And they'll be able to create tiered pricing structures with fast lanes for those who can afford the tolls and slow lanes for everyone else. But now we see the FCC has power over all that. And even if Verizon or whatever company came out and started doing all that messed up stuff, you know what we would do? We would mark that company as a piece of crap, garbage company, and we would go to the better company. We would go to the more innovative company. See, they're scaring you when they're talking about the ISPs are going to do this. I don't think they're that stupid. The ones we need to be worried about is the FCC. Say, for instance, look at China. Look at Iran. Look at Syria. They now have the power to do this. And all it would take is a cyber Katrina.